Let's add a device and look at each option as it appears on screen. Tap on Add Device. The app starts scanning for nearby Koolmesh devices. Once the device appears, select it to continue. Before completing the commissioning, we can already define the default behavior of the device using the preset options. The first option controls device identification after the device has been commissioned and joined the mesh network. If identification is disabled, the device cannot be identified or made to blink once it belongs to the network. This prevents anyone outside the project from identifying devices visually. This is especially important in public or exposed installations, such as offices, schools, retail spaces, or shared buildings. The next option defines the default behavior of the motion sensor. First, you can choose whether the motion sensor is enabled or disabled by default. If motion is enabled, you can then define how it behaves. Does the sensor control only its own luminaire, or does it control the entire zone it is assigned to? This choice can help ensure that the initial configuration already covers most of the project's needs, reducing the need for later adjustments. Here you can also define the default timing parameters for motion control. By default, hold time is set to 20 minutes. Standby time is set to 5 seconds. These values can be adjusted in the preset, so every device added will already follow the same timing logic. The third preset option determines the standard operation of the push buttons on this particular device. First, you can decide whether the push buttons are enabled or disabled by default. If enabled, you can then define whether the button controls only its own luminaire or controls all luminaires within the same zone. As a best practice, push buttons are usually configured as part of the final commissioning stage. If you're working with many sensors and devices, we recommend keeping push buttons disabled by default unless you have only a few devices and you are certain the installation will rely on push button control. This avoids unwanted interactions during commissioning and makes large projects easier to manage. Once these preset options are defined, complete the process and add the device to the project. We'll stop here. Once confirmed, the devices are added to the project as shown in earlier videos, and in upcoming ones we'll look at more options during setup, like over-the-air updates and using preset settings from an online project.